everybody, it's me, Minu. Welcome back to my channel. I was gonna start off by doing the whole imagine you're this, but then I realized that it's not gonna make any sense whatsoever. But I'll try to do it anyway, just to show you how it makes no sense whatsoever. So imagine that you're, yes, Sadie. Yes, Sadie. Sadie also thinks that it's a bad idea. As I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. Imagine you're the daughter of a wealthy man who owns a Walmart style supermarket. See how that don't make no sense? See how that's not relatable at all? But the movie I want to talk about today is 2023's Thanksgiving. There are a lot of Thanksgiving horror movies. And I didn't know that originally, but I remember a couple years ago on Hulu, back when I was really into Hulu, they had this Into the Dark series where every holiday was getting a horror movie, and I was living for it. And there are some Thanksgiving horror movies that I do like that I will talk about on this channel. But now we're just talking about regular 2023 Thanksgiving. It's a slasher movie. For those of you who don't know what slasher is, it just means that it's all about the kills and the gore and nothing else matters. And I will say this movie definitely delivers. So the movie follows Jessica Wright, and she's the final girl, meaning that she's the one that's going to survive. Whether anybody else survives, you don't know. But the final girl is the one that always survives. How do you know that she's the final girl? Well, she's the only person in the movie who isn't a bitch. She's the only person in the movie who isn't terrible. And that's usually how you can pick out the final girl. Everybody else is some weird, random stereotype. The final girl is the only one who seems to be normal, who seems to be like a genuinely nice person. So that's how you can pick out the final girl immediately. But Jessica's dad owns a Walmart-style supermarket where you can go and buy everything that you could possibly want. And it's called Right Mart. Very on the nose. And it's Thanksgiving. So it's Thanksgiving, and Right Mart is opening later in the evening for Black Friday, which honestly this movie should have been called Black Friday. It's a little weird that they called it Thanksgiving, and they tried to lean really hard into the Thanksgiving thing. But it really should have just been like Black Friday. But there's already a movie called Black Friday, so I guess they want it to be different. But it's also technically Black Friday because Black Friday starts on Thanksgiving night. And so they're all gathered at their dad's house. Jessica's there with her boyfriend Bobby. His dad is there with his new wife Kathleen. And then oddly, the store manager and his wife is there. And then the police officer shows up. So it's kind of like, they're trying to do this whole, small town, everybody knows everybody, everybody's friends with everybody type thing. Because what the fuck I look like being at my boss house for Thanksgiving. But they all seem to be gathering around, getting ready to eat the turkey and stuff. But nobody actually eats anything because the scene ends too quickly. The store manager and apparently friend of the family, Mitch, is told that he needs to go into work. And it's so funny. It's weird watching it back because it's like the dad, Mr. Wright owns the store, but somehow it seems like it's someone else who's telling the store manager that they have to go in because the guy who was gonna work that night just didn't show up. So then they're like, Mitch, you gotta go in. And his wife Amanda, who's also there for Thanksgiving, is upset about it, but he's like, I gotta go in. And it's like, okay. So they go into the store. Again, you don't actually see anybody eating. Like, they bring out this dry ass looking turkey, which, I mean, it's white people. I expect the turkey to be dry. But they bring out this dry ass looking turkey and everybody's like, ooh, it looks so good. But you don't actually get to have like the actual scene of them eating. And I feel like it's for a Thanksgiving movie, having them all sit down and eat is like usually a trope that is used in a lot of movies to kind of help you understand everybody's character and where they're coming from and their motivations and who they are and all that stuff. Like I think it's called like the dinner table scene. We didn't really get that. Like, we just kind of like, they put out the turkey and they stab it, and then now we at Right Mart. And so at Right Mart there's like hundreds of people, maybe over 1,000 people. Like, the crowd looks huge of them all just acting the damn fool to get into the store. And I know that, several years ago, Black Friday used to be something like that. But honestly, I felt like in recent years, especially with like the recession and everything, people aren't buying that much. I usually see just, long lines outside the building, but never like crowds of crazy people banging up against like barriers trying to stampede into a store for a free waffle iron. I don't know. Maybe that's still happening in some places, but it's not something that I've experienced. But I also prefer to online shop. I feel like since COVID, a lot of us just online shop anyway. It's safer than rushing into the store and like, who in America really needs another TV? You know what I mean? Or even a waffle iron. What the fuck? You know. But I mean, I guess if you live in a town where nobody has anything better to do, then yeah, sure. They're all gonna stampede their right marts for a free waffle iron. But anyway, yeah, so they're all like gathered outside. They got like two security guards who are trying to hold everybody back. They got a bullhorn. They're like, guys, so everybody hold on. The store opens in 10 minutes. Da, 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 da. And then Mitch, the store manager, is inside and he's trying to get everybody's ready. He's like, okay, cashiers, I need you over here. Stockers, I need you over there. Da, 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 da. So she runs out with her friends and they're driving. And one of the friends, Evan, he got into a fight with some kids from another school and his phone broke. And so he was like, oh, we need to go to Right Mart so I can get me a new phone, which is, again, this makes no sense. Like, I don't know exactly what year this takes place. If it takes place in the present day. Not now, Sadie. I don't know exactly what year this takes place, but it takes place in a year where cell phones are a thing. So it just seems a little weird that he would just randomly be like, hey, you see this crowd of like hundreds and hundreds of people vying to get into the right mart? Let's go in there too. We'll be real quick. We'll be real quick and get me a new cell phone. That makes no sense logically either. But they go and they sneak in through the back because Jessica's dad owns the store, so I guess they have a key or they know that the staff entrance is just unlocked. And so they sneak in for him to get his phone, and they were trying to. And Jessica's like, "Oh, we're trying to be sneaky," but Evan and them are like, "Whatever, we're gonna play, we're gonna throw stuff around." And then they go to buy the phone, and people see that there are people inside the store buying stuff, and they're all pissed about it. And they particularly zoom in on a few key characters, one of them being this overweight white woman with the black hair, and then another one being the security guard. And they're just having a whole fit. And so they say in the movie later that the reason that everything went down the way it did was because the fact that the crowd saw that there were people in the store and that they were like taunting them, which Evan was taunting people, but I just can't see that to be a reason for what happens next. So what happens next basically is people are getting too rowdy, too crazy, and Mitch, the store manager, says, lock the doors. We're not opening for them. We cannot do this. The crowd is way too crazy, way too unruly. So the black security guard goes in and he is locking up the doors. But then then there's two security guards outside. One of them is this overweight white dude, and he says, screw it, I'm out of here, leaving only one security guard versus hundreds of people, meaning that the people start to stampede and try to rush into the store. So as they're all trying to rush into the store, Jessica sees that people are being crushed against the doors. And so she's telling the black security guard, like, hey, you need to unlock the door. You need to let them in because people are going to be crushed. So he's trying to unlock the door. First of all, I'm like, that's stupid. But he's trying to unlock the door and they actually just blast through the glass. Like there's so much pressure. They blast through the glass. The door lands on him. He gets trampled and they all just start swarming in. This has got to be the best scene. When I say slashers are about the kills, this is what I mean. This is absolute carnage, absolute mayhem. People are killing each other, fighting each other over waffle irons, hitting each other with carts, trampling over people, stomping over people. Nobody cares about anything. Everybody's angry and they just want their shit. And I don't even know if anything got bought because, you kind of got to go through the cashier. I think people probably just stole a bunch of stuff. But yeah, several people die, including the black security guard who was trying to help. So yeah, black guy dies first. But several people die. And one of the things that happens is Bobby, who is brought up to be like the star player of the football team, tries to go and save the black security guard. But as he's trying to crawl over, someone steps on his hand or his arm and breaks it. So he's traumatized. Mitch's wife Amanda, who came to bring him some food, she ends up getting knocked over, and she's just crawling, which she shouldn't have been just crawling, but I guess, for the carnage, right? So she's just crawling around, and then she gets hit in the head by a shopping cart, and then her hair gets ripped up in the shopping cart and gets ripped off her head, and so she's dead. The security guard's dead. I think another person dies in the middle of this, and so it ends up becoming this huge thing, and they call it the Right Mart Massacre, the Thanksgiving Massacre. And a funny thing that happens after this is, well, I guess not funny, but I really, really like that scene. I thought it was it was so much carnage. It was great. That's exactly the type of stuff that you expect from a slasher. Is it topical? Are people actually still acting like that in this day and age? Not really, but I thought it was fun to watch, and that's the purpose of slashers. The kills have to be fun to watch. What they do in the movie doesn't have to make any sense as long as the kills are fun. So yeah, and Evan, he's supposed to be getting down or trying to help his friends get out. He don't care. He's just trying to get them views. So he's recording everything. And one of the police officers sees that Amanda has died. And so he shoots his gun, and that's kind of the end of the scene. So assuming that him shooting a gun makes everybody calm down and get out. But Jessica's dad, Mr. Wright, not Jessica's dad, Jessica's stepmom deletes all of the security footage so that they don't have to cooperate with the police. I don't know what deleting the security footage was supposed to do, because it's not like, I guess you could blame the store for not having enough security, but at the end of the day, how much security can you hire when you have the whole freaking town storming a place at once? You know what I mean? If anything, it would have been getting the people who were assaulting and killing other people, you know what I mean? But nobody gets arrested because there's no security footage of it. The only footage that survives is the footage that Evan recorded. He supposedly did not post it, but it ends up on the internet anyway. And it gets over 1 million views and stuff like that. It seems like something he posted, but they say he didn't post it, so whatever. Yeah, so then it cuts to 1 year later, and there's all these protests, and they're saying you should not open the store for Thanksgiving. You should not open the store for Black Friday. The store should have actually stayed closed after the massacre anyway, because people blame the store. And, the Mr. Wright, he's on his whole little thing. He's trying to convince everybody he's actually a good guy. So he's doing a bunch of charity, trying to reclaim his image. But Mitch, whose wife Amanda was the woman who got trampled and killed, he's still protesting. He's like, my wife would be alive today if it wasn't for the fact that you only hired 2 security guards to work Black Friday. And one of them ran off. So everybody's kind of trying to move on with their life. But the video starts circulating again. The video that Evan took starts circulating again and showing everybody, hey, this is what happened at Right Mart. This is how crazy these people got. And it causes an issue between Evan and, I don't know her name, random girl, background girl who's Evan's girlfriend. She's not important. But another important piece is that after Bobby suffered that injury, he no longer could play football. So he ghosted everybody, including Jessica, his girlfriend, and he disappeared from town. So now she's with Ryan. Ryan's also not super important, but I guess he's kind of there because they want to do the whole who's the killer type thing. Ryan is this kind of nerdy guy, and he's, pining after Jessica. Even though Jessica was with Bobby, he was still trying to chase after her, being way too pushy, way too pressury, following her, talking to her even when she didn't want to talk to him, doing his whole nice guy thing to the point that Bobby literally had to rescue Jessica from him because he would not leave her alone. But since Bobby ghosted her, she rebounded with Ryan, and they've been together for who knows how long in the year span. So they're together and everything's great. But now that it's a year later, Bobby pops back up in town, and I just know, they're setting up this whole, there's about to be all these kills, and then Bobby randomly pops up. I'm like, okay, they're going to blame Bobby. But also, if you watch enough slasher films or mystery films, you know that the obvious person is never the actual person who did everything. But Bobby pops up conveniently around the same time that everything's going down. And then someone picks up a John Carver mask, which is a mask that they're sharing everywhere because Thanksgiving is so important in the city of Plymouth, Massachusetts. And so the person puts on their Thanksgiving mask and they go around killing people. And they start with, I think she's like my favorite character because she did so good. She did so good in the Black Friday scenes. So a waitress named Lizzie is the first victim of the killer in the movie, and I really enjoyed her acting during the Black Friday scene. I thought it was good. I thought she really gave me like an angry white woman. Like I liked her accent. I liked her entitlement. She just felt very real. And she was one of the people who ended up killing Amanda unknowingly as she was like ramming her shopping cart into somebody else. But she was a total bitch the whole thing. And so it was really, really good. And so she's the first one to go. As she's closing up shop, she gets attacked and killed by John Carver. And she makes all these stupid decisions, which I also find hilarious. But it's a slasher, so she's got to do it, right? And so like he attacks her and she manages to lock herself in the room, but then she looks at the security cameras and sees that he's not there. So then she decides to go ahead and sneak out without finding her keys first to make sure that she can just hop in the car and head out. So she literally walks out of the diner and then starts going, "Where are my keys? Where are my keys?" Fumbling around in her bag as she walks towards her car. And then the car turns on and it comes after her and it literally rams her into like she tries to climb into the dumpster, I guess, but it hits the lower half of her and the dumpster doors close and somehow that slices her in half. Which, what? That makes no sense, especially how heavy she was. There's no way the lid of a dumpster is enough to like cut someone in half. But that's what happens. It's hilarious. And then the next morning, her lower half is hung up on the top of Right Mart. Again, the kills are just hilarious. And I love it. It's funny. And it's just her lower half. So it establishes that John Carver is out to get people who were involved in the massacre. Now, the funny thing is, wasn't everybody involved in the massacre? Like, everybody was there. Like, that had to have been the entire town. So it's like, are you going to go after everybody? Why do you choose the people that you choose, right? And so throughout the movie, the killer known as John Carver, because that's the mask that he's wearing, like he's posting on Instagram, like pictures of a Thanksgiving dinner table, and he's tagging the protagonist, Jessica, and her high school friends. So it's like, he blames them for what happened, which again, don't really make sense. It's a slasher film, so we need the teenagers to be, targeted or blamed or stalked or whatever for everything that happened. And so that happens throughout the thing. And as John Carver kills more people, he, uploads more pictures with their names at the dinner plates, and he uploads pictures with the bodies at the table. It's hilarious. It's so gimmicky. I like it. There's some more scenes in the sense of like, people getting kidnapped. They go to the school with the school being closed, so there's no one there. And then two of Jessica's friends get kidnapped and she narrowly avoids John Carver. And whatever. I don't care much about that. I need more kills. Need to get to the next kill. That's literally all I care about. So then you have the security guard who ran away. He's trying to get out of town because he already knows something is up, and he knows that he's probably going to be next. So he's trying to like pack up his stuff and move, and he sits down his passport, and then he goes to grab something, and he looks back, he sees his passport isn't there. So he's like searching around for his passport, and then John Carver comes out of nowhere and he decapitates him, and it's so funny. It's so gory. I love it. It makes no sense. It's not realistic at all. It's just funny. So now two of Jessica's friends are missing. Yulia, one of her friends who is like, I don't know, Russian or something. Her dad pulls up. He grabs her. He's like, we're going to Florida. So she's like at the house trying to pack while talking to Jessica and Scuba. Scuba's the black friend. pretty much it. He's the black friend, but he's dating Yulia, so they're constantly talking to each other. And John Carver shows up. Bro has a gun with a silencer on it, so he's like he like shoots the police officer that's like watching them, and he shoots Yulia's dad, and then he grabs her, and he like shows on the camera on the phone because she's like FaceTiming with them. So he's like grabs her, and so Scuba and Jessica like run over there, and also Scuba picked up a gun from this shady guy that's to try and use against them. So he picks that up. They run over there. They're ready to like confront the dude. For some reason, in Yulia's house, she has a big fancy house. Her parents have money, okay? For some reason in Yulia's house, there's like some little construction going on. It's not established. There's no reason, but there's a table saw. And so there's this like standoff where Carver has Yulia, and Jessica and Scuba are like trying to figure out what to do, and they're pointing the gun, and Yulia's like, shoot him. And I'm looking like, Yulia, you trying to get shot? Like, he's using you as a human shield. What do you mean shoot him? Shoot him where? Scuba ain't never even held a gun. It's establishing when he gets the gun. Jessica's like, you don't even know how to use that. So he tries to shoot, and the safety's on, and Jessica's like, Scuba, the safety. And while he's trying to do that, Carver just throws Julia down onto the saw, and her hand rips up, and then the middle, and then she falls on it, and her body rips up, and there's blood everywhere. There's like fake guts falling out of her. Scuba's holding her, and the first thing I thought was, I was like, Scuba, you too black for this. You cannot be holding a dead white girl. You're gonna get in trouble. But this is one of those movies where I guess racism don't exist, because the police show up and they don't blame them at all. And they're just like, oh my God, this serial killer is killing people, but it's like up in the ante, right? With him killing people. I just thought it was really funny because I saw little guts hanging out, and it was like, and when her hand ripped up, I was like, so good. I really like that. Again, no reason, no explanation as to why there's just a random automatic table saw in this rich girl's house. I guess they were renovating something at some point. If there was a line about it, I missed it. I don't know. So then the next thing is they're going to do a Thanksgiving Day parade, and they wanted to cancel the parade because there's a serial killer publicly killing people and like posting about it on social media. So everybody knows that people are being murdered. But Jessica decides, and her dad decides to, support her and saying we should just do it anyway, and we should lure him out because he'll think that we're in a state of, he'll think that we're out in the open, so he'll come out and try to kill us, and that's when we'll get him. So the police are all like rallying behind that, and so they have the little warehouse full, and they're like, okay, you're gonna do the parade, and when your float comes into the warehouse, we're gonna make it look like it's empty so that Carver will attack you, and then we'll catch him. And so that's what they try to do, but they don't make it. The killer is in a clown costume instead of the John Carver mask. And so he randomly out of nowhere just slices the neck off the turkey. I don't even know, like the person that, like the turkey mascot, I don't even know who that was supposed to be. But literally, like with the axe or something, he just clean slices through the mascot costume and cuts off the person's head perfectly. And throws smoke bombs everywhere. Everybody descends into chaos. The police try to get Jessica, Scuba, and her dad and them like out of there, but they don't make it. Like he comes in, he tranquilizes everybody, and he drives them off to wherever his little secret hideout is. And so Kathleen, Jessica's stepmom, has this whole thing where like she wakes up and he's like buttering her like a turkey. And all I could think about when I saw this is like, damn, you're getting more moisture than the turkey you made last year. Because Kathleen turkey looked dry as hell. It looked inedible. It looked like a prop. It did not look like actual food that people were going to eat. And so he's like buttering her up and putting like salt, and he like seasoning her and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, Kathleen turkey wasn't seasoned. It wasn't. I know it wasn't. But yeah, he's doing a good job of all that. But she wakes up and she like sneaks around. They have this whole little thing where she's like sneaking around and trying to, avoid him. She comes across another body of this blonde girl who I think she might have been from the other school. She's not important. She's just kind of like in a bag in the refrigerator, but she's also alive. And I'm looking like, how are you alive? Aren't you like shrink wrapped? How are you breathing? Um, but yeah, there's this whole little like scene with all this like atmosphere of like her trying to get away, Kathleen trying to get away, but it don't really matter. He catches her and then he puts her in this giant oven and cooks her alive. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I like the special effects of her like being turned into a turkey. But then Jessica, Scuba, her dad, everybody who's alive, who's still alive at this point, Evan, they all wake up at the table tied up and they Carver brings out the turkey and it's Kathleen's body, and then but she doesn't have a head, so then he reveals the head by lifting up a little sheet on a plate, and then he's like cutting off a piece of her and like talking about how he's gonna like feed her to the Mr. Right, which I thought was hilarious. There's this whole thing of like the police are he's like live streaming what he's doing to them, so the police are trying to track it, and so the police find out where they are, and they all converge on this one place, only to realize that it was a phone recording the recording. So the phone was live streaming the live stream, and so they found the phone, but they didn't actually find where they were. But also too, they weren't that, I don't think they were that far away. So the police are useless at this point. They're not doing anything. Oh, the other thing that happens too, Carver ends up killing Evan on live stream, because the whole thing is like Evan was sitting there recording people dying and being assaulted, and because he wanted views. So they live stream killing him, and people are literally hearting and liking it, which I thought was a little interesting thing. But then Jessica remembers that this random guy, the guy who had given them the gun, and that's really all he was good for in the story, had given her this ring. He's like, it's a lucky ring, and it kept my dad alive during the war. And she realizes that there's a little spike on the ring that she uses to cut through the ropes around her arms, and she gives that to Scuba so he can cut through. And they both like, dip out, and they're running off, and they realize that exactly where they are, but it doesn't mean anything. Scuba tries to hold off Carver. Carver like cuts his arm. Like he gets him in the shoulder with his axe, and then Scuba just goes down. Like, and for a minute I was like, did he there's no way he died from that, right? Like he didn't die. Scuba goes down, and then Carver goes after Jessica, but she climbs over a fence just in time before he can get to her. She runs off. She finds a police officer who is unconscious, and she takes his gun. She sneaks into this little warehouse area where she sees Bobby walking around dressed like Carver. And so she's like, oh my God, it was Bobby. And so then the police officer wakes up, and the police officer's name is Officer Newlon. Now, Officer Newlon was present all the way in the beginning because he was randomly at the Wright house for Thanksgiving, but then also was at Wright Mart during the massacre as well. So he's just kind of been around. But as things were going and they were trying to work with the police to figure out what happened, he was very much there trying to, get Jessica to help them, find the security footage, share the security footage, who could it be? When Jessica was like, oh, I think we should lure him out during the parade and stuff, Officer Newlon was like, yes, I support Jessica. We should totally do this. So he helps like shoot after Bobby, but Bobby disappears. All the other police show up because they hear the gunshots and take Officer Newland's gun because he fired it, which I thought was an interesting detail. But then it's like they do this whole thing of like, oh, it's all over now. And Jessica is just traumatized because she can't believe that Bobby would kill all of their friends like that and do all of this. So Officer Newland's like, I'm going to give you a minute, and then we're going to head over to the hospital to check on your friends. But then she realizes, she has this one random little detail. She realizes that there's like flowers and like dirt on his shoes in the bottom of his pants, which would have meant that he was the one chasing her through the forest. And she has this whole thing where she's like flashbacking to all the times he said weird shit to her that she just did not catch. Like at one point he was like, you shouldn't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody and stuff like that. But I mean, everybody says that. But he realizes that she's caught on. And so he's like, they do the whole thing where he has to do his villain monologue of the fact that he was actually having an affair with Mitch's wife, and she was pregnant, and she was going to leave Mitch, which nothing showed any of that. Now, if it showed that she, like maybe they should have had a scene where like Mitch like tried to kiss her or something, and she was like, but she seemed to really like Mitch. Like the fact that she showed up there to bring him food because he couldn't stay for Thanksgiving. Seemed like they had a great relationship, but they throw in because they have to have a twist. And she was pregnant, and because of you guys, she got killed, and I lost my future wife and my child. So now you all have to die. You all have to pay. Blah 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 blah. And then Jessica has her little moment where she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell you what I'm thankful for." And he's like, "What are you thankful for?" And she's like, "I'm thankful that the service in here is so good." And she shows that she's been like live streaming his confession. And he's like, "Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna kill you now." Like, yeah. So they get into their little scuffle. Bobby shows up to save her, and they run out, and they're like narrowly avoiding Officer Newlon. And then they eventually get to Bobby's family's truck, and they're trying to drive away. But right before that, the little cord at the end of the car gets away. Officer Newland grabs it, and he like hooks it onto like a beam or something to stop them from getting away. And he's like trying to be all cool, walking slowly to the car as they're trying to get away with the axe and stuff. Like he's ready to kill Jessica and Bobby. But at the last moment, she gets like one of those fake guns, and she puts her bracelet in it, and she uses it to shoot at the big blow up turkey, and it causes a huge explosion. And there somehow the huge explosion unlocks the cord that was holding them to the beam, and so Bobby's able to drive off. But then later on, when the police show up, they're like, "Yeah, we couldn't find Officer Newland's body, but there's no way he survived the explosion." You're like, okay. I mean, given that he's just a person, yeah, he probably didn't survive the explosion. But the fact that you didn't find a body is a little suspicious. But then it's revealed that Scuba survived. Thank goodness. I mean, because I was scared for a minute that they was really going to try to write him off. Like he got cut in the arm and now he's dead. But Scuba survived. Gabby is her name. The other friend, I think this was the friend that was like dating Evan. And she was kind of trying to, she didn't really do much other than hang out with Evan. But yeah, Gabby's alive because nobody cared enough to even kill her. And then Ryan randomly shows up. So Jessica says goodbye to Bobby so he can go to the hospital. Ryan shows up and he's like kissing all on her and stuff. And I guess Bobby's now cool with Ryan. I still got some feelings about the fact that she went for Ryan because something about Ryan is kind of suspicious. But, I guess it is what it is. And so time goes by and Jessica still has nightmares about Newland like sneaking in and attacking her and killing her. I hope they don't have a 2. If they have a 2, I hope they do different characters. Jessica's okay as a main character, but every other character, minus the first lady, Lizzie, the waitress, I liked her, but she's dead. So you can't bring her back. She's not going to be in Thanksgiving too. Jessica's okay. I need her to be better if you would want to make a 2 out of this. But overall, as a slasher, I thought that it was hilarious. I love the blood and guts. I love the gore. It was so unrealistic, but I loved it anyway because it was just funny to watch. Like getting bisected because the door of a dumpster fell on you is hilarious. Having a random automatic table saw in your mansion is also hilarious. And then the way she fell on it is also hilarious. Somebody like having their whole head snapped off with the wire, also hilarious. Kathleen being turned into a turkey was the funniest thing ever because they set up Kathleen to be like an evil stepmother. Like you're not supposed to like her anyway. So the whole time where they was trying to have her like try to make it out of the home and like all of these little tense moments where she's hiding and trying to avoid him, and you like, I don't want you to survive though. I want to see him finish what he was doing. He was about to cook you, ma'am. You all buttered up. What would have been really funny, because he was covering her body in butter, is if when she tried to get up to run, because her feet had butter on them, that she slipped. Oh, that would have been so funny. That would have been so funny. I mean, I know it would have made the scene end faster, but that would have been so funny. Oh, I loved it. But yeah, like that was really really funny. And then the Thanksgiving table scene, where Evan was getting his head bashed in was funny. Carving her up, trying to feed her to Mr. Right, that was also funny. Um, Most of it was just hilarious, and I just had a good time. And I feel like with slashers, that's how you got to deal with it. That's how you got to take it. Like, you cannot go into a slasher thinking you about to get like quality cinematic masterpiece type level. No, you're not going to get superior direction. You're not going to get superior acting. You're not going to get superior writing. What the characters do is not going to make sense because we need them to die. So in order for those characters to die, they need to do stupid stuff that makes no sense, which is why I really enjoyed watching them screw up. Like, literally there was a scene outside the school where the police officer, I can't remember if it was Newlon or not, but the police was like, hey, don't split up, stay in pairs. And they're like, okay. And the second he walks away, Jessica friend's Gabby is like, I'm gonna go get Evan and leave you here by yourself. And she's like, okay. And then she leaves, and then she finds Evan, and so they get back together for like 2 seconds, and then Evan and Gabby, I guess they sneak off to have sex. I don't know what they were doing, but they just randomly were like, we're gonna sneak off into the school, and do whatever. And then they both get kidnapped. And instead of her going outside to where there are police and like other people, she just like starts walking around the school by herself, like trying to text them, like, where are you guys? But yeah, all of that was hilarious. I loved how Lizzie was so stupid, and how she was being killed. Like, she was literally like, first of all, your hands covered in blood, but you thinking you about to swipe on your smartphone with your bloody hand. That's what you're gonna do. Hilarious. Hilarious. The killer's gone for 2 seconds, so you come out of your hiding spot. And also, too, the funny thing is, while she's like swiping on her cell phone and trying to like get it to recognize her face and everything, next to her is a literal phone, like a landline phone. And because the cameras are running, so the electricity is working. So she could have just picked up the landline phone and dialed 911 and hid out in the security room until the police arrived. But instead she decided to just walk out into danger at night. Hilarious. Hilarious. I thought it was so funny. It was so funny. I'm glad I watched it. I was scared for a second because people were telling me like it was ridiculous, and I was just kind of like thinking that I was gonna like hate it. But nah. I really liked it. But anyway, that's all I have to talk about for today. I hope you guys are enjoying your evening. Thank you so much for sitting through this long-winded video of me just enjoying a movie. There are movies that I don't like, and I know that those movies are a lot more popular when you're like ranting and raving and you're angry. You're doing like your angry reviews and stuff like that. But I like to talk about stuff that I do enjoy. If I watch something I don't like, I'll tell you. But I like to talk about stuff that I do enjoy too. I think it was a ride. And I do enjoy multiple horror genres, but slashers is a particular one that I'm like, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.